name's Kirsten Moorefield. This is my third time here. And I'm always so encouraged. There's so much we learn from each other, but part of what's so fun about it is we all share a lot in common. I was putting my son to bed. This is actually a few years ago. I was putting my son to bed when he was maybe 5, 6, and he said, "Hey, Mom, tell me a story." How many of you are like real good at bedtime stories? Same. And said, "Okay, well, once upon a time, there was a woman. She had a really hard job. Her job was so hard, but she worked at it every single day. She gave it everything she got because she wanted to make the world a better place." And my son stopped me. Mom, no. Mom, I want a made-up story. And I think that's true of all of us in this room. We have such a hard job, don't we? And we work at it every day because we want to make the world a better place. We know the transformation that happens inside of our people, the increased career mobility, the self-awareness of becoming a better leader, the transformation that happens. We've seen it in individuals, but it is so hard to prove that when you need budget. It is so hard to prove that when the economy's hard. It is hard to get what we need. I was talking with a learning leader at a large national bank, and she was frustrated because her executive sponsorship, the majority of the resources in her organization were all excited, energized, and going right towards a single flagship program that served 50 leaders. And she was trying to get resources for the 3,337 branch managers who were really good at customer service and were gifted leadership and people management and had never gotten trained in it. And she's struggling to get the resources. How do you like do something that at scale that much that actually has an impact, right? How do you get the budget for that? How do you prove the impact of that? Eli, how'd I do there on an opener? What's my rating? I felt the pressure. When you said that, I felt the pressure. Like, oh my gosh, how's it gonna go? Okay, so let's do some math. Who loves math? Who majored in like something with math, right? Eli's got his PhD in it. Okay, again, I'm under the microscope. By the way, I'm a Wix customer. I recently was like, I'm gonna spin up a website. I did it with Wix 5, their AI thing. It's so cool, and it broke a few times for me, which I'm saying is because AI is evolving, not because of user error. And I reached out to customer care. Oh my gosh, they were so good. Seriously, I'm so impressed. I was effusive in my ratings then. Okay, so let's do some math. How many people transactions happen in a year if you just look at HR broadly? So we're talking like you're new to the team, you're doing your admin for your benefits, maybe you've got, the more transactional type things that happen, your role changes. There's 10 to 100 of those per employee per year. Then you add in learning, skill building, performance management, feedback, team building sessions, that kind of stuff, depending on your organization. You can have between 30 and 300 of those for a single employee in a given year. It's a broad range. Let's just add it all together. You've got 40 to 400. That's a 10x spread. I get it. That's pretty large. Why is it so big? Well, it depends on what's the size of your organization. Are you growing? Are you shrinking? Are you not changing? What's your leadership buy-in on some of this stuff that we're going to talk about? What's your tooling? Do you have a lot of technology behind this, or are you kind of not really there yet with tools? What's your culture? How open is it? Are your people really doing the similar job that's kind of siloed, or is it matrixed, or is there a lot of interaction that's happening? And then, of course, are you remote? Are you hybrid? Are you in person? That kind of a thing. Those impact if you're on that, 40 to 400. Okay, let's just average it. So what's the average between that? Good job, it's 220. That's right, you got it. So 220 on average are the interactions an employee will have with HR, L&D talent, HR overall, right? In a year. That's about one a day if you give them a few weeks of vacation, right? Let's talk about how much people interactions are just happening, period, at work in a year. So there's been a lot of research into this. Harvard Business Review came out and said, 85% of an employee's time on average is spent with other people. It's being collaborative. Microsoft, they've got their suite of tools, gobs of data, and they found that on an average week, an employee will have between 8 to 12 meetings with 3 to 8 collaborators. And outside of those meetings, you're sending a lot of messages, emails, Microsoft Teams. I see some eye rolls and some head nods. Right. I love all my notifications. So let's add all that together. Let's just average it, 8 to 12 meetings. Let's say it's 10 meetings per week per employee, with an average of 5.5 people. Because sometimes you'll have more, sometimes you'll have less, or sometimes you'll have that multitasker who's like halfway there, right? And let's say somebody took 4 weeks of vacation, you got 48 weeks of work. What's that math add up to? Eli, can you do it? I'm just kidding. It's 2,640 is the average people interactions that are going to happen through meetings in a year. And then let's do messages. 200 to 300, average it at 250, same 48 weeks. You've got 12,000 people interactions that are happening. This is where people are getting persuaded or not persuaded, where people are sharing information, where people are asking for information they don't know how to get, where people are, getting excited, high-fiving, celebrating, giving feedback, having conflict. All of these things are happening. If you add it together, 14,000 times in a year for the average employee. Compare that to the 220 interactions that HR gets to be involved in. That is 1.5% of our people interactions that are happening in our organizations. We have some sort of a small chance to touch, right? And the 98.5% other of these interactions, we're hoping that what we've taught them, that the structures we have set up, that the expectations we have set are going to form the culture, are going to help people do positive feedback, untie knots effectively, not in a devolving way, right? And then you add the constraint of, if these are the moments we're talking about, how many tools are happening? How many tools are your people using to give feedback, to receive feedback, to do, take a course, to be a part of a workshop, to have, just, you got promoted, or your calendar, or your messaging. How many tools are these things happening in? And then if you go back to my friend's issue at the bank, almost all of their resources are for the top people, right? And I've gotten to talk to L&D for 10 years. I know that's really common, and it's hard. It's really common that you're touching really 1 to 3% of employees, 1.5% of interactions with data that's scattered everywhere. Can you relate to this problem? And it's hard to say, we need a strategic seat at the table, right? I've heard that for years. But the good news is, today, there's so much that is possible that was not possible even 3 years ago. There's so much we can do to tie all of this together and flip it from 1.5% to closer to 100, right? Nobody really wants in 100% of their interactions, right? We can be more relevant and we can be more strategic today because of what is changing. So let's talk about this. Let's imagine Julian works at your organization. Julian, he's a high riser. He's done some good things. He got to be in a HICO program, and so he's gotten to take a couple of assessments, his DISC results, his Clifton strengths. He knows a little bit more about himself. And so he got newly promoted because he's doing a really good job. But through his employee engagement scores, the team that he's inherited doesn't feel like they have the right tools that they need. And through some 360 feedback on Julian, you know that he should be pretty good at making his team feel valued, at helping, at being a supportive leader, but he struggles in the adaptability part, which is important because adaptability is one of your core leadership competencies at your organization. And you could also know that tomorrow he's got a planning event for 2026 planning with his new boss, Deborah, who he doesn't really actually know all that well yet. There is a way that all of this data could be tied together, and Julian could be given the information he needs right now for the thing that's really stressing him out. I've been obsessed with this problem for 10 years. 10 years, well, actually probably 12 years ago, I became a first-time manager with zero support, zero training, and I thought I was the problem. I couldn't figure out how to get different people who think very differently to think the way that I think. Turns out that's not what I should have been doing, right? And so I set out to use technology to help unlock all the wealth of information that's behind behavioral assessments to help leaders lead their people better. And I always knew, wouldn't it be amazing if you could also take all this other data and not just the behavioral side of things and tie it together to help people with what they need? And yes, today you really can. It is so possible with AI, but you gotta be careful because you can't just what about data privacy? What about hallucinations? What about all that could go wrong if the wrong thing is sent to the person that shouldn't have gotten it, right? But that's why you get good partners who have already been doing this type of stuff. So at Cloverleaf, we tie all of this together. For example, Julian, we're integrated into Slack, Microsoft Teams. Let's say this is a Slack shop. What if in the morning he got 3 options of where he could learn today? And these aren't just hey, congrats, you're a manager too now. How about you learn about time management? Because sometimes that's helpful to managers, right? It is, Julian, hey, you're meeting with Deborah. How can you align with her on strategic priorities? What might be, why might I feel uncomfortable asking for help in my new role? Because we can know things about his personality, about his behavior to know that. Or we know that from his 360, adaptability is critical for leadership competencies, but not so easy for him. We can coach him on that. Let's say he chooses, hey, let's figure out how I can align with Deborah. We can give him content that is specific to him, that is specific to Deborah, that is specific to your organization, and it's only a few sentences, and he can choose what's his action step and where's he want to go further, or he can just type back in what he really needs, and there he's in a coaching session immediately, in the flow of work. This is the difference between reaching 1 to 3% and all of your people, and not in a way that is, nice to have, but is solving their stressor of the moment. And it's proven. We're already doing it across the world with amazing customers. And we're going deep right now with Workday, and we are looking for design partners who are on Workday and are looking for how can I leverage more of my Workday data. We're an innovation partner with them. We're their only assessment provider, and we would love to talk to you about your Workday priorities. Or if you're not on Workday, hey, we do a lot of things with people not on Workday as well. I am so excited about what's happening right now in the world. I know it's been a year for L&D. It has been a year. But there is so much that is possible now that was not possible even a year ago. And the world is moving really fast. So actually this year at Cloverleaf, we totally changed what we offer to our customers because we watched some of our customers say, oh yeah, baby, let's go AI. I've been given initiatives. I've got to advance, right? And we've seen some of our other customers trend in the opposite direction because there's stuff happening in the world right now, And so we have changed our offerings to where we can use just our assessments for our customers. We can be your assessment vendor, we can replace your current vendors and cut your costs by a third. Or you can go all the way, or you can just meet in the middle and say, hey, I don't know about all of that 5-year planning, let's integrate all the tools, but we definitely are trying to figure out AI coaching for our people. We're giving away for free to all of you our AI coach. You can use it with however many people in your organization you want to use it with. It's based on here, if you go to this QR code, and you don't even need to use IT procurement for anything, you can use it just with your behavioral assessments. If you've taken them, you can input your scores. We partner with a dozen, DISC, Enneagram, 16 types, the ones that you've probably invested into. And you can take them or you can just input your score, and you can invite that team that's always at the forefront that wants to try new things, or you can invite just your team to try it out because we want you to experience what is possible. Whether or not it's the right time for you to engage in a conversation with us, we just want you to experience what is possible. Thank you.